All right, guys. Hey, community members. We are here today. I'm bringing you another good one today. I'm really excited about this one because, I just jumped back in onto LinkedIn. So I'm finding new ways to connect with new people. I'm all about networking. So we have Jonathyn here to talk about networking and LinkedIn. So if you haven't dived into LinkedIn yet, he'll kind of go through some things and tips and tricks to help you with that. And he's kind of a guru with that publications and marketing aspects. So, Jonathyn, how are you today?
I'm doing so good. I'm so excited to be on the community podcast. I followed it for a month now, and I'm simply just amazed at how you're able to handle 17 different projects with networking events, and along with whatever you must have going on personally. So, kudos to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So, kind of introduce yourself and tell people who you are, what you do, so they can kind of get a idea of who you are.
No, I would love to. So my name is Jonathyn Lopez. I am in Kansas City, Missouri. I actually live right on the state line, so I spend days in Kansas and Missouri. That's definitely new to me. I'm born and raised and from Florida. I work for a company called Publify Press. Very simply put, it's a publishing company that puts the rights and royalties in the author's name. And so in doing so, we help a lot with the book marketing. That's really where I came in. But fortunately, that is a family business. So I get to work with people I love all the time. And that makes us very selective and make sure that everything has like a purpose that we publish. But during COVID, I got a lot more into marketing and publicity and spent time developing connections with media outlets. And, they'd contact me and be like, hey, I'm looking for somebody, over 30 Pacific American, and I would get back. And so I kind of became like a publicist, and I really felt passionate about helping share people's stories. And so right now, I've been pushing for publicity, and I completely love LinkedIn. LinkedIn's where I got my start on social media. But yeah, so I do that. And over here in Kansas City, I also help front a networking community called Waywo. What are you working on? Along with a gentleman named Raven Josiah. And so I just truly believe that you can't be a part of the community without spending time in the community. So very community driven, and definitely very much someone who cares about legacy and generational wealth and generational consulting. And that definitely is one thing I filter everything I do through.
And I think that aspect is where we connected about community. That's why we really wanted to talk about this networking aspect of actually going to a social media platform and actually connecting with people. Mm-hmm. Especially during COVID when there weren't in-person events. And as you said before, I'm all over social media. I'm constantly trying to get people to network. So why is LinkedIn your preferred choice of media platforms?
Well, LinkedIn, for me, it's like picking what pool you jump in, one pool might look super cool. It might look super engaging, but there's not really any space. One thing about LinkedIn is that if everybody in America stopped using LinkedIn, they would be completely fine. Other than headquarters, they'd be completely fine because their presence is so large. And so I compare it to like the golf of social medias. So it's a very swimming. Also, some stats about LinkedIn is that it is 50-50 almost between women and men, and it puts you in direct correlation with the decision makers. So you are in cahoots with people who, if they agree upon it, then the next step is business. Another big thing about it is that if you have over 2,000 followers on LinkedIn, that puts you in the top 30 percentile of influencers on LinkedIn. And so the crazy thing I realized was that I was on Instagram. I still am. I love Instagram. Let's just clarify that. I spent a lot of time on Instagram, but I would, spend all this time posting a video and, say I get 500 views, 20 comments, 5 thumbs up, and a good job, right? But on LinkedIn, I realized, okay, I might get 30 engagements, 2 likes, right? But the comment is a lead, or it's an actual person who can benefit as a part of my network. And so that's where I started to focus more on LinkedIn. And then the fact that you can literally target. So I spend time, and every single week I max out my attempts on people to connect with. And I literally go from New York to Florida to Kansas City to the East Coast, and then I'll pick a random state country across the oceans. And in doing so, your message is spread across. But the biggest thing about LinkedIn is that it's craving personalities. Like, it's crazy because everybody thinks like LinkedIn is so businessy, but it's craving personality. And so when you keep the human inside, when you show the human, and me, I post videos, I share my opinions on other people's topics, and in doing so, it shows the human behind the business. Because I truly believe that the days are over of giant companies and nobody knowing who runs these companies. You know, with Elon Musk and Bill Gates, and everybody knows the names. Jeff Bezos, they know the names. We used to not know the names of these people. So business is getting totally personal. And I believe LinkedIn is going to be the catalyst in that, the same way like Facebook 2012 was, in terms of like graph, the way it's growing.
And I think that's understandable because I started a group that you're on in LinkedIn. And it's amazing to me that you can go into all these groups and they're constantly posting stuff and you don't see a lot of comments and likes, but it's really interacting and engaging in the like DM area or the messaging area, because people just don't want to spend that time going back and forth. They just want to connect with people and really get down to business of what they want to do. And for me, I've found LinkedIn is really tough because I'm trying to look for product-based business owners, and a lot of product-based business owners hang out on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So LinkedIn's not that go-to, but I've learned that service providers for product-based business owners do hang out on LinkedIn. So then you go connect with them, and then your clients and their clients can kind of mesh well together. And I think that's really helpful. But
Yeah.
I also like what you said about like LinkedIn is, if you have 1,000 or 2,000 like connections on LinkedIn, that's a huge difference to like Instagram, where you need to have like 10K for you to be even mentioned in anything.
Right.
So.
And it's totally different. That exclusivity is a big factor of LinkedIn. And if they change that tomorrow, LinkedIn would be so much more popular. But again, like the same way that golf is not craving viewers, they have enough money, they have enough people within their own network. The same way LinkedIn is not craving people, they're craving personalities. And I truly believe in that. And the best thing is you can just cross promote. Like, people always think it's something different. You can literally, what you're posting on your story, you like, LinkedIn has a story. People don't even know that, you know? But that exclusivity is huge. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Discord. It's really big in the NFT community. But that's one thing about Discord that makes it big. You can have a Discord group of 10, 15 people, but these aren't just fans or followers. These are people who are embodying the process, the same way that I embody your group, you know? So on that page, it's like, yeah, I know that only me and an exclusive group of people are seeing this content, you know?
And that makes it's that human connection, like where I tell people all the time, it's like, you want to stand out. Well, the best way to stand out is in a smaller group. So you don't need thousands and thousands of followers, but you do need visibility within a group. So even if you're in a group of 800 people, which is my Facebook group, you're more likely to stand out than if you were one of 300,000 people in a Facebook group. But that's the difference, is people they value those metrics way more than they do that human connection. And that's where I think we really, when we had our pre-podcast call, we were like, okay, this is what we have to talk about. We have to talk about people talking to people, not DMing random bots and all these people that are just trying to sell you something. You have to sell something. It's the connection to that person. And what am I giving that person? What is that person giving me? And why is this relationship so important?
Well, it's crazy because you could know a company's all of their accolades, right? You can know everything about their company, but if you trust someone from a different company, you're more likely to work with the company that you trust. And so with LinkedIn, if you're consistent on it, and you do have that human aspect, and you do show that business is tough, you know, or you do ask for lending hands, or you do use your platform to help other people. So with that being said, I was thinking of an example the other day. a friend of mine, he is in school for cybersecurity, and I got him on LinkedIn because he hangs out with us. So he's always on videos. I'm like, hey, all these videos, just post them on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And he's like, dude, I've gotten like 9 likes total. And now he can't be here today because he's at an interview. And so that's literally like the way it is. But what I'm saying about like the business trust is that if you really do show who you are and the purpose for your business, then if somebody sees your personality and they see your why for working, then the only reason for you not to work together is if you don't get along.
Right.
And so on LinkedIn, you can literally eliminate every single other factor. You can show credibility. You can show network. You can show your skill. And then when you talk, it's like, do we get along? Yes. Now let's work together. It's no longer like, what's your credibility? It's like, you saw my LinkedIn page.
So I have a question from a viewer. Have you ever heard of Alignable? Jonathyn? Uh-oh. Tech problems. So we're talking about that human connection part, and I think that's really important to people and really understanding how we connect to people. So that's why he chose LinkedIn, and this is why I thought it was great, because I just got on LinkedIn and I have a group on LinkedIn. And I think it's really important for people to realize that when you have those networking, so you're actually making connections. It's called connect with someone or follow someone on LinkedIn. Those connections are more meaningful. And I think that's where we really appreciate the LinkedIn platform. Now, LinkedIn is very difficult to manage if you're not on it daily. And if you're part of a lot of groups, your notifications skyrocket, almost worse than Facebook, because you get a lot of ads and there's a lot of people randomly messaging you. But the difference between Facebook and LinkedIn is that Facebook, you're more susceptible to that different stream of random bots. So Jonathyn, what I was asking you before we had tech issues is, have you ever heard of Alignable?
I have not. I have, but I not enough to say I know it now.
Okay, so someone asked, how is LinkedIn compared to Alignable? Well, Alignable, to kind of give you an idea, the reason we're comparing it is very similar, but LinkedIn has a lot more added features. Alignable is a referral network. So what it is you make connections and then you physically refer someone to someone else. So like under your bio, it says, I would like to be connected with, for me, it'd be candle makers and lotion makers and bath and body products. So people would actually message me and say, hey, I think you would be a great candidate to meet so-and-so. Whereas awesome. LinkedIn's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason it is so different is, like, I don't have a pro or premium, so I kind of am limited how many times I search a month, which kind of, I'm going to have to start getting the pro membership because I'm searching way too much a day to burn it out in one day. But in Alignable, it's the same way. You can have a pro membership. The biggest difference, though, is it's the same people you keep connecting with, because not a lot of people are on Alignable, and it's based on location. So LinkedIn's not as much location based.
Yeah. Well, since they both have like a subscription wall, which like shows like how much you can do for both, I don't exactly know about Alignable, and I definitely will research it and recommend it to my network. So thank you, because I can totally see how they can coexist. With LinkedIn, some differences I can assume, since I don't exactly know that platform though, is that it cuts out that first step. Sorry for the audio. My phone overheated, so I had to move back into the office here. So one of the biggest things is that it cuts out the first step, and it is that direct A to A and B to B. So you're directly talking to the decision maker. And so for me personally, one way that we were able to establish a sponsor was by messaging a CEO of a company And just to make sure, Leah, is my audio overbearing?
You're good.
So we messaged the CEO of a local coffee shop that we go to, and we said, "Hey, my name is John. Hey, I love drinking your coffee. We have some crazy ideas. Get back to me." And because he's a human being, right? And he said, "You know what? What are those crazy ideas?" We got in the same room with him, and that completely eliminated all the other steps that it took. And so in 45 minutes, we met at the coffee shop. So I feel like the amount of people is probably one of the biggest differences. But I definitely will learn more about Alignable, and that'll be part of my network, because that sounds like huge, because I could totally see how when I optimize people's pages, you have recommendation lists, you can optimize it to where you can go from here to there. And imagine if you could show the recommendations from LinkedIn and then include that in the link. So I wonder if there's a way we compare it.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that until Sharon asked that question about comparing them, because like I've not found leads on Alignable, but it's also because for me it's hard for people to message back, because it's not like Facebook where you can like turn on notifications, because it's not an app, it's actually a website, so it actually sends you emails, and by the time I scroll down to get one of the Alignables emails, it's like 1,000 emails down. So it's a little different, but it's definitely something to check out. I know a lot of crafters are on there, and that's why a lot of crafters ask me about Alignable, and I recommend it to them because of that referral thing. But it's a little different than LinkedIn, but they both can be very helpful as long as you keep your profile up to date.
Yeah, and the difference between like cold calling and warm calling on LinkedIn is how much you post. It's literally the difference. So if you're posting consistently, then they've seen your post, whether they liked it or not. And then one thing I always recommend is do not start your message with a hey or hello followed by their name, because that sounds like a bot. Hi, Leah. I'm Jonathyn. I'm a publicist. You no longer trust me. You know, if I'm out here in Kansas City doing something similar with a networking group, I want to talk to you because I think our visions align. That's the truth, and here we are on a podcast together.
Yep.
You know, so I totally directly think that you should just send more messages to people without that template. There is templates, and you can use LinkedIn Navigator, or you can use the other one that gives you free access to everything. But the main difference between LinkedIn and any other platform I can't say that because there's stuff like Alignable I didn't know about. But you can learn on the application. So I preach evergreen content. Evergreen content meaning that whenever someone views it, it's efficient and consumable to the person. And so on there, you can get certifications. On there, you can get my friend for the tech job. One reason why he stood out is because he has 3 LinkedIn certifications, which each took 5 hours to get, which show that he's trying to get better in his job, even though he's only 24 compared to somebody else who may have just a resume. And that's another thing. LinkedIn is a resume. So it provides a platform unlike Instagram and other ones to, in a way, for the worst way to put it, to brag about your product.
Yep.
Every other platform, it feels a little bit weird. Am I wrong? No, on LinkedIn, it's like, this is why you're here, to see what I do. So here,
It's kind of being blunt. Like, instead of
that's better.
Like where like Instagram, you can only have so much in your bio, so people have to ask you what your things are. Whereas LinkedIn, you go to someone's profile and you can read what they've done since they were born to what they do today, because depending on how much they put in there. And
that's huge. It's in a way, people, it's not as the interaction with it isn't as great as the other apps, but the engagement is huge. So if somebody is engaging with you, they're not just liking your picture. They have now seen what you do, where you live, and probably some of your past work.
Yeah, and that's amazing to me. And that's why I've always had a LinkedIn, especially when I was looking for teaching jobs, which are not hard to find. But I had to redo it all because I felt like the connections were not the same that I wanted for this type of job. So I did it all from scratch, and I think it was following you on Instagram really helped me. Like, okay, I think I really need to get on LinkedIn. I think I need to get on LinkedIn.
Well, even the Barstool, the CEO of Barstool, is very active on LinkedIn, and I know somebody. I don't know somebody. I am a connection on LinkedIn with somebody who shared one of her posts and then got a 30-minute session with her. Like, she charges for that stuff, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And influencers are more likely to do stuff like that on LinkedIn because they know that it's not a giant thing. So somebody, a bot is not going to win this giveaway. Somebody like us who needs the information, is going to consume it and use it, is going to use it. And then even for LinkedIn too, all of your skill sets matter. Like, you have no idea. I play football. I came from Florida to KC for football. And then I also worked in a restaurant all throughout college. Those are both on my LinkedIn page. And you'd be surprised at how many times people say, I knew you had a great work ethic because you spent time in the restaurant and you finished college and you finished playing football in college, which is hard. So all of your skills matter, and they all correlate into the person you are and why you're capable of being the right applicant for the job, or why somebody should take you on as a client.
And that's the best part, is because you're getting to know people without actually jumping on a call. But then if you jump on a call with them, you're like, okay, I want to work with this person. I don't need any more time because I know exactly who they are. But it's also, people get to that point where, like, how much is too much when you're putting on your LinkedIn bio? Because there's some things that, like, I might be good at but don't matter. But do you put everything? Do you not put everything? Like, how do you choose what you put on your LinkedIn bio?
Yeah. Well, before I forget, one huge thing I do that helps me a lot is that for my name, my first name is Jonathyn Lopez, and then my last name is what I do. So Jonathyn Lopez, Publishing and Generational Consulting. So whenever my name is presented, that's how it's presented, and it's already one less point for them to understand. So that's one tip I have on there. The biggest thing is recommendations as well. So if you're talking about the trust, you should, everybody listening, I would totally encourage you to sit down and say, who are the 10 most influential people I know? And then see if they have LinkedIn and get their recommendation. Another huge thing, I did this for you, Leah, as well, is I went on her page and you can see what would you recommend them for. So if you want access to people's network, the best way to do it is exactly this. If you want, and again, people focus so much on the engagements, but people forget that it's about efficiency and conversions when it really comes down to it, right? In terms of your business, right? And so by having every single factor of yourself being able to be shown, and then now you talk and business is established, the next step is that I can go on your page and say, I give, it's called kudos. There it is. I give kudos to Leah for her acceptance, her leadership, and then her skill set in photography. In doing so, they're going to 9 times out of 10 share it. And now I'm presented to Leah's entire network as a friend. So now one more step as breaking that trust level in business. And so now she's presenting me as somebody who's naturally giving her kudos, and just imagine the connection that's going to open. And so the last thing on that point is, the best way to do it is, if you have a target in mind, which you should always have ideal client targets and stuff, find that target and then literally become friends with everybody they know. And within a week, you'll become friends with them somehow. And then when you message them, it's like you guys know each other. It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous how it works.
It's like stalking, but the professional way.
Yes, maybe.
So, as we come to the close of this, because we've already been talking for a while, is there any questions, comments, or anything you want to tell the audience about? Any last minute things?
I would totally encourage people to find people in their community, like what you do, and that Leah, she has so much on her plate and she finds a way to do it. So you motivate me to do it as well. But one big question I had for you is, I understand, like, on LinkedIn, a big factor is having a niche. But for you as a photographer, and as a photographer, you must see so many things you want to take pictures of. How did you focus down your niche into product photography? And then which of those projects were probably one of your favorites?
So the niche kind of picked me. During the pandemic, my mom started a soap making business. So my work ethic comes from my parents. Like, they don't know how to relax, and neither do I. So we don't really have that in our vocabulary. But my mom started making soap, and she was going to sell it to just friends and family. And then she's like, oh, well, I guess I can sell it to everybody, but I need to have pictures. And well, my daughter has a fancy schmancy camera, so maybe she can take pictures of it. And as soon as I started taking pictures of it, I just was hooked. And the biggest reason I love it is because they don't talk back. Like, people talk back to you. And the biggest reason I love is it doesn't talk back to you, but also because you're helping someone else's dream. So because you're taking photos and making that product look really good to people, whether it's something edible or not, it's still going to look good. People love it, and then they buy more of it, and then that business becomes more successful, and then you feel part of that. You feel part of their community and their team. And obviously it's my mom, so it's a little bit different, but she helped me build up my portfolio. And then she told her friends who are also crafters to use me. So it started building up my portfolio. And then I even niched down even more when I started loving candles and taking product photos of candles. That really helped with my niche. So my niche is technically self-care products.
I definitely have some direct connections that I can think of to send your way and to join the community. But that really reminded me of one last thing too, is that, one sec. One thing that I remembered, my apologies. So one thing I remembered, and I always encourage people, because working with LinkedIn and helping people optimize their pages has put me in cahoots with people who are more established in their business. So from like that 45 to 60-year-old range. And what I always tell them and always remind them is ask for help. Like, ask for help. Like, you spent 60 years developing a network. Ask for help. Because one of the biggest things that I made my biggest leaps and bounds was when I stopped and said, hey, Dad and Uncle, can you help me? Like, I don't know, I'm trying to grow a business alone. You shouldn't be alone, and that's why I'm really happy to be a part of the community.
I love it. And I appreciate you coming in and bringing your knowledge. And we'll make sure that we have in the comments and in the show notes all of your connections, the Weibo Project, and just your business in general, so people can connect. And obviously he's on LinkedIn. It's Jonathyn with a Y. So make sure, if you want to connect with him on LinkedIn, that would be your best thing. And as everyone knows, like I said, I have a new group on LinkedIn. So if you want to join that as well, you can definitely build up a business on LinkedIn, whether you're product-based or service-based. It's a huge platform. So thank you again, Jonathyn, for being here today. I know you have a lot going on with your work party and whatnot, but I just am gracious for you reaching out to me just randomly in my DM so that we could be here today.
I just want you to know that before I started the Weibo project, I was following you. And so I directly give you credit for me taking that extra step, because my excuse was that I was always busy, and so watching you do that. But yeah, if you're listening, totally go back and listen to the other podcasts. They're so good. They're not as noisy as mine, I promise. But the other podcasts are so good, and like, this is literally a source of knowledge. So thank you so much. I definitely have some people to send to join the community.
Awesome. Thank you.